Three Cheers Secret 7 by Enid Blyton. Janet and Peter were down at the meeting shed waiting for the rest of the Secret 7 to arrive. On the door were the big letters SS, and Scamper, their golden spaniel, sat outside the shed as if guarding it and feeling very important. The Secret 7 had not held a meeting there for 3 weeks and decided to make this one a bit of a feast as well. As Pam, George, Colin and Barbara arrived and each gave the password of the day, which was lollipops, they were greeted by Janet and Peter and with a bark of welcome from Scamper. But when Jack came, the children were horrified to see that his horrid sister Susie was waiting nearby too. After Jack had given the password and entered the shed, Peter turned on him.
Whatever did you want to bring that awful sister of yours here for? You know how often she upsets our meetings. I bet she wants to play some silly trick on us.
She doesn't. She promised. And she does keep her word. I tell you why I had to bring her. Our American cousin has sent an aeroplane, and she can't fly it by herself. I'm longing to have a go at it, so after the meeting we're going to fly it in the big field behind our house. We've left it under your hedge till the meeting is over.
An aeroplane? What sort?
A fantastic one. It must be 2 meters wide, and it's got some kind of clockwork to wind up the elastic bands that help it fly. I tell you, it's super.
Fancy sending an aeroplane to Susie. Why didn't your cousin send it to you, Jack?
Well, we were each asked what we wanted, and I chose a cowboy outfit. It's fine, but Susie chose an aeroplane, and it's miles nicer than my cowboy outfit.
Would Susie let us come and see you fly her plane?
I don't know. She's always rather cross about the Secret 7, you know, because we keep her out of it.
I tell you what, let's not make this a Secret 7 meeting. Let's take our food into the garden and tell Susie she can join us if she'll let us help with the aeroplane.
Right, let's go and ask her.
So out they all went, and Susie, grinning all over her freckle face, agreed and told them that they could see her super plane if they would give her some super food. And it was a super plane too. It was the biggest toy plane they had ever seen, with a gleaming silver body and wings, and wheels that went up and down automatically when taking off and landing. Then, with Susie carrying her plane and the others carrying the food, they went into the large field behind Jack and Susie's house, and had a feast of biscuits, rock buns, pieces of gingerbread, nut chocolate, lemonade and toffees. And of course, Scamper wanted a piece of everything. When the feast was finally over, Susie picked up her plane and handed Jack the instruction leaflet.
Now we'll fly the plane. Show me what to do, Jack. Just show me once, then I know forever afterwards.
Well, it seems easy enough. You turn this to make sure the wheels go back when the plane is in the air. Then you press this and wind up the key here. That's the mechanism that winds the bands up so tightly that the plane...
I don't want all those explanations. I just want to know how to fly the plane.
Oh, all right. Right. Fly!
Marvellous.
It'll turn and circle back to us. That's what it says in the book.
It's not coming back. It's going on. It's going straight on. It's going over the wall at the end of the field.
Oh, no. It hasn't come back. Now what are we going to do?
It's gone. My beautiful aeroplane. I wouldn't have let you fly it, Jack, if I thought you were going to lose it on its very first flight.
I didn't know it would do that. Whoever saw a model plane fly like that before? I'm awfully sorry, Susie. I really am.
Who lives in the house on the other side of that wall?
It's called Bartlett Lodge. It's a very big house and has been shut up for ages because the owners have gone abroad.
We can go and get the plane then. There'll be no one to shout at us or chase us if we look for it.
Well, there is a gardener there. He's not very nice, and when Susie and I lost a ball over there, he wouldn't let us go over and look for it.
Well, we can always climb up to the top of the wall and see if the gardener's there. If he is, we can politely ask if he's seen our plane. And if he's not, we can go over and look for it.
Hadn't we better ask permission before we do that?
Who from? If there's nobody there. Come on, let's see what we can do.
All 8, and Scamper too, went across the field to the high wall. George and Peter pushed Jack up until he was on top of the wall and looking down into the overgrown shrubbery on the other side. He was just looking around to see if he could see the plane when through a gap in the trees came a thick-set, ruddy-faced, surly-looking man.
Hey! What you doing on that wall? Get off! This is private property. Go on, get away with you.
We don't want to come in. We just want to know if you've seen our aeroplane. It flew right over the...
No, I've not. I've not seen anything. And if I do see your plane, I put it on the bonfire. I'm in charge of this place while it's empty, and I'm not having any boys coming in here to steal fruit or...
I'm not a thief. I just want our plane and...
Clear off that wall this minute, or I'll tip you off. Go on, get away with you.
Jack leapt down from the wall very hastily and sprawled heavily on the grass, where Susie was stamping her foot and being very angry.
Didn't you even see my plane anywhere, Jack?
No, I'm very sorry, Susie. I'll go over the wall as soon as that horrible man has gone off for his dinner. I expect he goes about 12 o'clock.
Listen, Jack and I will go down to the front gates of that house, and as soon as that horrible gardener goes out, we'll slip back here, go over the wall, and hunt for the plane.
Good idea. It's almost 12. Come on, Peter. We'll go now.
Jack and Peter left the field and set off down a lane to the big gate that led into the drive of Bartlett Lodge. They hid behind a workman's shed, and after about 10 minutes saw the burly gardener come out of the gates and set off down the road. The 2 boys raced back to the field and were quickly hoisted up onto the top of the wall by George and Colin. There was a convenient tree which leaned towards the wall, and by swinging from its branches, the 2 boys neatly landed on the ground. They began to hunt for the plane, and were just beginning to think they'd never find it, when Peter stopped and pointed upwards.
Look, there it is, on that balcony. If we climb the tree that's growing by the side of it, we can easily get it down. It's not smashed. It looks perfectly all right.
Good. You go on up, and I'll keep watch down here.
All right, I'll climb up as quickly as I can.
You all right, Peter?
Yes, fine. I'm just on the balcony now, and the plane's not damaged at all.
Good. If you've got some string, you can lower it down to me.
Good idea.
Peter took some string out of his pocket, tied it to the plane, and carefully let it down to Jack. Then he glanced round and noticed that the curtains of the balcony room were drawn, but did not quite meet in the middle. Just as he was turning away, he noticed something red shining between the crack of the curtains where they did not meet. Astonished, he peered through the gap, and to his alarm could just see the glow of a gas fire. What an extraordinary thing! Thoughtfully, Peter then shot over the balcony and down the tree, and within a minute he and Jack were back in the field with the plane.
Where was it?
You all right, Peter?
Is it broken?
Are you all right?
Where was it?
No damage at all. Better take it home straight away, Susie.
I'm jolly well going to. I'm not letting the Secret 7 fly it again. Goodbye.
Good. Now we are on our own, Secret 7. There will be an urgent meeting at 2:30. Not a word to Susie, though.
Promptly at 2:30, and with Scamper on guard outside the door, the Secret Seven was sitting round on boxes, intently listening to Peter as he told them what he had seen when he had climbed up to the balcony to get Susie's aeroplane.
And through this gap in the curtains, I saw this red glow.
But what was the glow? Could you see?
Yes, it came from a gas fire. Now, what do you make of that?
Easy. Someone left it on when the house was closed.
I thought that at first, but just as I was leaving, I had a feeling that there was something else odd there too.
What was that?
I don't know, really. I think it was something on a table.
4 legs?
Don't be silly. It was something unusual, I'm sure.
That gas fire ought to be turned off. There might be danger of fire from it.
That's what I think. But how do we get it turned off?
Tell whoever's got the keys. A family called Hall owns the place. I'll ask Mother if she knows who keeps the keys, and then they can go in and turn it off.
And if we can't find out who has the keys, we'll have to tell the old gardener. He might have the keys himself and pops into the house and lights the gas fire to warm his toes by when he's cold.
That's Scamper barking. Someone's coming. It might be Susie.
But it was Peter's mother inviting them all to tea. The next morning, the Secret Seven met again, and after 5 muttered passwords to Peter and Janet and 5 welcoming barks from Scamper, they sat round in a circle in the dark little shed.
Well, any news to report, anyone?
I have a bit.
What is it?
Well, Alice, who helps my mother with our cleaning, told me that she cleaned Bartlett Lodge from top to bottom before it was locked up.
Did you ask her if she drew all the curtains when she left?
Yes, I did. She said she drew them all and turned off the water and gas and electricity.
Did she wonder why you wanted to know about these things?
No, I just asked about the gardener, and she said his name was Georgie Grimm, and he was grim by name and grim by nature. She didn't like him much, and his only saving grace is that he is a very honest man.
Well, if he's honest, he would have reported anyone he saw lurking about.
That's true. Peter, do you think we ought to tell Mother about all this?
I don't think she'd believe I really did see that gas fire burning. It is a bit unbelievable after what Alice told Jack.
Well, we can easily prove it's true. We'll wait till the gardener goes home for the night and slip over the wall and up that tree again. We can easily peep through the curtains.
Yes, and if the fire is burning, although the gas is turned off, we'll tell your mother, Peter.
It's about the only thing to do. Jack, we'll use the ladder from your shed and go over this evening.
But that was easier said than done, because Jack found it impossible to get the ladder without Susie hanging around to see what he wanted it for. So, in the end, the 2 boys decided not to go over the wall, but to risk going into the lodge through the front gates. They set off up the road into which the drive gates opened, and after cautiously looking round, walked quickly through the first gate, and keeping carefully in the shadows of the bushes, made their way round to the side of the gloomy big house. Then they sprinted across the little yard, straight into 2 big men. One was Georgie Grimm, and the other a big, well-dressed man wearing a suit.
What are you 2 doing here, eh?
Ouch! Let go my arm! You're hurting!
You're the one who said your aeroplane had flown into my garden, aren't you, eh?
Let me go! You're hurting me!
I mean to. What are you up to, I'd like to know?
Now, look here, my lad. It's a serious thing to come trespassing in a private place, you know. And if this is the second time Grimm has seen you here, you are going to get into trouble. What are your names and addresses?
Honestly, sir, we weren't going to do any harm.
Well, you'd better be honest with me, or I might think about calling the police.
I am being honest, sir. Our aeroplane flew over the wall, and Jack and I climbed over to get it from the balcony where it had landed. And just as I was leaving the balcony, I saw something odd.
What do you mean, odd?
The curtains up there didn't quite meet, and when I peeped between them, I saw a gas fire burning in the room. I really did.
And we've come back to check up on it. And if the fire was still burning, we were going to tell our parents, and they will ring up the police and...
Gas fire burning? Impossible. The gas is all turned off. You can't have a gas fire without gas.
I tell you, I did see it.
Oh, this is an amazing story. I'm Mr. Frampton from the bank, and I've come down to check with Grimm that everything is all right here. You seem decent lads, but really, if there's no gas, it's difficult to believe you. However, I have a key to the house here, and we can go and check your extraordinary tale.
In a short while, they were all in the big hall of Bartlett Lodge. Once Grimm had shown them that the gas, electricity, and water mains were all switched off, they set off upstairs to the balcony room where Peter had claimed to have seen the gas fire. Once there, Grimm opened the door.
This is the balcony room. I'll draw the curtains.
Oh, my boy, you've been making up a nice little story, haven't you? The fire is certainly not alight, and the gas is all turned off. You should be ashamed of yourself.
He just made it up as an excuse to come trespassing.
I did not. And there's something else, too.
Silence!
But I'm trying to tell you.
Silence, I tell you, or I'll call the police. Go now.
Somebody has been in that room and lit the gas fire and done other things too.
What other things? And why didn't you tell Mr. Frampton?
I tried to, but he shut me up. I said yesterday that there was something odd there apart from the fire.
Yes, I remember. But what was it?
First, the plant in the pot was healthy, and it was a primula, and primulas need lots of water.
So someone must have been there to water it.
Yes, and the 8-day clock on the mantelpiece was going too. Someone must have wound it up, and I thought the room smelt of tobacco.
Gosh! Someone must have been there. But who and why?
That's for the Secret Seven to find out. We must hold an urgent meeting.
You could hear a pin drop as the five sat round in the hut listening to Peter telling them about his and Jack's visit to Bartlett Lodge. And when he had finished, they really were very excited about it. It was decided that first of all they had to make sure that Grimm really did have a good name for honesty, and also find out where he lived to discover if he was at home each night. As Grimm had once worked for Pam's gran, she was given the first task, and Janet and Barbara had to find out all they could about how and where he lived. Peter said he would find out about Mr. Frampton, and they each set out on their tasks. A few hours later, they were all back with their reports. Pam's granny had said that Mr. Grimm was absolutely honest, and his wife was a very nice lady who suffered with a bad cough. Peter's father had confirmed that Mr. Frampton was a fine chap and a friend of his, and Janet and Barbara told how they had been to where Mr. Grimm lived.
Oh, Peter, it's a dreadful cottage. Really dreadful.
Why? What's it like?
It's near the canal, and so low it's on the level with the water. And with the recent rain, the water has overflowed into the cottage garden.
The cottage must be terribly damp. We even saw fungus growing up one wall.
And it's in very bad repair too. Our farm cottages are palaces compared to it.
Why doesn't he move?
It's hard to get a cottage nowadays, especially at low rent.
And we talked to a neighbour who told us Grimm had a day job as a gardener at the lodge and gets home about 6 every night. And then, because his wife is ill, he does all the cooking and washing.
Mrs. Grimm must be very ill. Her neighbour says she hasn't even been in the garden for weeks. Oh, it is an awful cottage, Peter. I feel quite sorry for Grimm.
In that case, who is the intruder at the lodge? Now we must talk and plan. Any ideas, anybody?
Why don't we go back up the tree and onto the balcony and watch for a light to come on and peep through the crack in the curtains to see who it is?
Why didn't we think of that before? That's what we'll do.
So, That night, after getting permission to stay out till 9 o'clock to go to the cinema, Colin, George, Peter and Jack left early and found themselves in the road where Bartlett Lodge stood. They hid in the shadows as Peter gave them their orders.
Colin, you watch by the gate. George, you're to stand at the foot of the tree that we're going to climb to the balcony. If either of you see or hear anything suspicious, hoot like an owl. Jack, get your torch ready. We'll need it to climb the tree.
The two boys put their torches between their teeth so that they could see where they were going and use both hands for climbing, and set off up the tree. But as they reached the balcony, a great disappointment awaited them. Someone had pulled the window curtains together so that not the tiniest chink remained for them to peep through. They were just wondering what to do next when something happened which made them jump violently.
Danger! That's the signal. Keep still, Jack.
Look! Someone's climbing up the tree. You can see his torch.
Quick, Jack. Climb up higher and hide in the leaves.
All right.
We can stop now. Nobody can see us here. Quiet now. He's reached the balcony. He's on it. He's tapping on the window, and someone's opened it, and he's gone in. Better climb down now. We won't see any more here tonight.
So they climbed carefully down the tree again, making no noise at all, and were soon at the bottom and joined George and Colin, who were anxiously waiting for them.
I'm glad to see you. Did you hear my hoot?
Yes, and Colin's.
I hid in the bush when the man came. Did you see who it was?
Yes, in the light of the room I saw his face. It was Grim.
Grim? Pretty mean to leave his sick wife alone every night. He must have a pal in there who is robbing the house bit by bit in complete peace and quiet.
Yes, honest Grim. No wonder he was cross when we found his private entrance.
Shall we tell the police about him?
No, we'll tell my father. He'll know what to do. Let's go and meet the girls coming from the cinema and tell them the news.
So the four boys went to meet the girls and told them what had happened, and very excitedly they all set off together to Peter and Janet's house. Peter's father and mother were most astonished to see all the Secret Seven coming in together.
Why? Colin, Jack, Pam, Barbara, George... Whatever are you all doing back here instead of going home?
Mother, we've got something to tell you. Dad, you'll be surprised when you hear about it. You see, the Secret Seven...
Don't tell me you've tumbled into another adventure. You haven't got yourself into trouble, have you?
Oh, no. And I hope you won't be cross when you hear what we've done.
Begin at the beginning. You're the chief of the seven, aren't you, Peter? Well, you begin then.
So Peter began the strange story, right from the morning when Susie's aeroplane flew into the garden of Bartlett Lodge, until they saw someone knock on the window of the curtained room on the balcony and be let in.
And who was it?
It was Grim. It really was, Dad. We could see him clearly when the curtains were pulled back.
Then the curtains were drawn again and the window fastened.
And we thought we'd better come and tell you because you know Mr. Frampton and would know what to do.
That was very sensible of you all. I'm blessed. The things you seven get up to. But I can't fault you in this matter. Thanks to you, we'll catch this fellow Grim in his lair with his burglarious friend, whoever he is.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to phone up Mr. Frampton, get him to come round with the keys to Bartlett Lodge, and we'll go and surprise Grim and his friend in their cosy lair.
Dad, can we go too?
I'll see what Mr. Frampton says.
The children all listened to the one-sided telephone conversation in silence. When it was over, they learned that Mr. Frampton would be round straight away, and he would ask the police to stand by, and that Peter and Jack could go along to the lodge as witnesses. Then Janet and Peter's mother phoned up the other children's parents to let them know where they were. In a few minutes, there came the sound of a car hooting at the front gate, and Peter, his father, and Jack hurried out, followed by the envious gaze of the others. Eventually the car arrived at Bartlett Lodge, where there was not a light to be seen. They walked up the drive silently, and Mr. Frampton carefully opened the front door.
I got the torch. Now follow me.
Good job there's carpet on the stairs. They can't hear us.
Now we're on the landing.
There's a light coming from under the door.
Let's surprise them and go in now. It's locked. Open up this door. Open up at once.
Who's there? Who is it?
Open up and you'll see. The game's up, Grim. Open this door or it will be the worse for you and your friend.
It's you, Mr. Frampton. You haven't got the police with you, have you? You know I'm an honest man.
I've no police here at the moment, Grim, but if you don't open up immediately, they will be here very soon indeed.
Mr. Frampton, I'll open up this door and come out if you'll let me shut it after me, and will not come into the room until I have spoken with you.
Open this door and we shall come in straight away. I warn you, if you let your friend get away out of that window, it'll be the worse for you. Open up! Right. Right, Peter? Go and phone for the police.
Right you are.
No, don't get the police. I'll open up. Wait! Once more, I beg of you, don't come into this room. I do beg you.
Stand aside, man.
The four stepped into the room, wondering whatever they would see. Nobody in the least expected to see what was there. They stood silent, staring in astonishment. The room was immaculately clean. The table was set for a meal, and the gas fire burned brightly. But the most astonishing thing was the sight of a pale, white-haired old woman on a couch in front of the fire. Her hands trembled as her scared eyes watched them come into the room.
Please, don't blame George. It's my fault.
Don't get upset, old lady. We've only come to see what's happening.
Now, dear, don't you fret. I did it for the best. You see, Mr. Frampton, it was like this. My wife's had this bad cough all the winter. The doctor said if I didn't get her away from that damp canal cottage of ours, she'd have to go into hospital.
And I wouldn't go. I'd die if I was separated from Georgie. I know I would.
Then the canal water rose, and our house was damp, and this old house was empty and dry,
You
and...
managed to get her here into a warm, dry room and turned on the gas and electricity and water.
It was a terrible walk for her, sir. I used the spare key to get in here, the one on the hook on the dresser.
And you made her comfortable and did the shopping and the washing and hung it out at the cottage and climbed in here each night through the balcony window.
Yes. That's why I was in such a temper when I knew the boys had been up on the balcony. I tell you, I've been in a real state of worry since then. We've kept this room spotlessly clean since we've been here, sir.
You won't get the police, will you, please? My cough's much better now, and we'll go back to our old cottage.
Look, well, you can stay for a few more days, but the owners are due back next week, and I'm afraid then you'll have to go.
Thank you, Mr. Frampton. I'm sorry for all the trouble I've caused, but I can't bear the thought of losing my old Betsy. Come along, everybody. Let's leave them in peace. I'll send some milk and eggs along tomorrow for you, Mrs. Grimm. Good night, and good night to you, Grimm.
Good night.
Dad, can't we do something? I shan't be happy till we do.
And they did do something. When the Secret Seven heard how the man they had spied on, and who they had thought was so awful, was really only caring for his wife, they emptied all their pocket money onto the wooden box in the shed and took it to Peter's father.
My word, someone's rich.
Old Grimm's story was so sad, we've collected all our money to help him and his wife. Susie gave all hers, too.
I'm glad you want to help them, Peter. So do I.
How, Dad?
Well, you know we need a man to cut the hedges and so on. Well, Grimm can have the job if he wants it, and live with his wife in the cottage the cowman's just left. It's sunny and dry, and she'll be fine there.
Oh, I love you, Dad.
How lovely to be grown up and do things like that.
And how lovely to be young and belong to the Secret Seven. You're a set of meddling youngsters, but your heads and hearts are sound. You've had many adventures before, Secret Seven, but I don't think you've ever had one with such a satisfactory ending as this one. And one more thing. I'm very, very proud of you all.
Hear that, Secret Seven? 3 cheers for the Secret Seven. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray!